Hey guys, welcome back. This is part 3 of our domain controller build slash server build. When I left you in part 2, we're running Windows updates. At this point, hopefully your Windows updates are completed. Sorry, it took me a few to come back onto here. I ended up building out the file server structure for the next part of these videos. Anyway, let's log back into the system. Okay, so we're back in the server now. Hopefully you guys could see. Let me see if I could actually adjust this slightly. Yeah, that's better. All right, so now that we're back into the server, the next thing I'm going to do is rename the server. That's the first thing we're going to do. So we're going to just actually we're going to click on Start, right click on the command prompt you had pasted before, do run as administrator. In here, we're going to open back up sconfig. And in sconfig, you have the option here to rename the computer. So if you hit number 2, it's going to ask you to change the computer name to something other than what you have currently. Default, it's usually generic numbers and then win with something in there. It varies. So let's change it to something that can be useful. So for this, we're going to make it YTDC01. Once you hit enter, it'll prompt you to reboot. Click yes to reboot the computer. Once the machine comes back up, what we're going to do is we're going to rename, or not rename, I'm sorry, we're going to change the IP address of the server to a static address. Your domain controller should always be static IP'd. You can use, so there's a variable in that, which is that you're going to use a dynamic IP address with a reservation if you're running like Azure servers. But if you're on-prem still, you want to use a static IP. And then you want to make sure that IP is not part of your DHCP zone. So in other words, if you have DHCP, say, from like 192.168.1.2 to 192.168.1.254, you really want to shrink that to maybe like 192.168.1.50 through 192.168.1. I don't know, 200 maybe. So that way you have a little bit at the beginning and a little bit at the end for some additional addressing. Obviously, in a more advanced network, you could have VLANing, so you could kind of put your servers in their own location, your desktops in their own location, and your printers in yet their own location. Should always put phones in their own location. If you have VoIP-based phones, VoIP causes a lot of traffic on the infrastructure. You could lose speed on your internal infrastructure just by having them all on the same network, because you get a lot of noise on your internal infrastructure if you have voice over IP phones. At any rate, so we're going to log back into the system. There we go. So we're back in. Now we're going to want to change the IP. Typically, I mean, you could go through the control panel. Generally speaking, I would tell you to right-click down here, do Open Network and Settings, change adapter options, right-click on your network adapter, choose Properties, IPv4, and then choose the properties of IPv4. In here, we're going to set the IP address. On this one, we're going to do 2.168.242. 242. Net mask, we're going to do /24, so there will be 252 addresses roughly in this scope. You could do a larger scope if you wanted to, but for the sake of this, it's not necessary. Gateway 192.168.242.1. DNS, since we're going to promote this thing to a domain controller, it's going to be new domain, new controller on its own network. We're going to choose to use our own internal DNS on our own server. So we're going to just set this to 192.168.242.242. We don't need a secondary. Click OK. Important with DNS is that you can't use an external DNS lookup on a domain controller. You'll cause issues, so don't do that. I see that everywhere I go. Everybody constantly screws up DNS. So in the process of this configuration, we'll go through how to properly configure DNS, because it is like the #1 issue out on the internet on multiple client locations. I've been in the MSP world for 20 years. there are more calls for DNS related I can't get to the internet problems than any other thing that I've ever seen. And most of this stuff is due to configuration problems that the person that manages it causes. So these companies, these small businesses pay a ton of money for support for things that are not caused by them, but caused usually by the people that are maintaining it. So at any rate, we're going to set our IP addresses in here. We're going to hit OK, hit close. We're going to close this out. We're going to close this out. All right, so now we have a static IP. All right, so at this point now we could promote this system to a domain controller. To do that, what we're going to do is we're going to actually click on Start. Actually, to do that, I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to stop it here. I'm going to kick off another video. Like, subscribe. I'll see you guys in part 4. Sorry for the breakup. I'm still getting used to this whole editing thing. I'm not a graphic designer. I'm not a developer, so I'm still trying to figure out the right software to use. If anybody has any recommendations, please feel free to put a comment down there. I would love some recommendations as to what I could do to edit videos correctly, and maybe, you know, showcase some of my personality in them more than just this bland, endless rhetoric of server configuration. Anyway, hopefully I'll see you guys in part 4. You guys take care, like and subscribe. Thank you again. Bye now.